I am McGrew, as Fred mentioned, the Executive Director of the Governor's Workforce Cabinet. I'm excited to be here today, looking at the agenda and being able to hear from folks at the national level, the state level, and the local level. Really hits on a lot of the things that Fred talked about as far as best practices, communication, training, awareness. But I really think this event was born out of one of the most important aspects of being able to move this system forward, and that is collaboration. As Fred was going out and hearing from you all at the local level, putting together that team that was, made up of state folks and local folks to really put this event on was really important. And I think that, I'm sure that some of you, felt some tension when we made the move that we made a few years ago in moving out the State Workforce Board from underneath the Department of Workforce Development and underneath the governor's office. And we're probably thinking, oh, well, here we go again, right? Because for a long time, right, and I was a part of the system when I first started with the state, we had, parallel systems running simultaneously. Some of you may remember the Career Council and the Regional Works Councils, and we had, the State Workforce Board, the SWIC, and you all in this room. And so we were kind of running on this parallel journey, right? But we're not going to be able to move the system forward unless we have that collaboration from state and local leaders and us all working together and really developing that trust. And so, I moved into this role back in May now. So Linda, wherever you are out there, she mentioned I'm still in a little bit of the honeymoon phase. But I tried to get out and communicate and reach many of you in this room and go to some of the board meetings, meet with the directors, meet with the board chairs to really see and get a sense for how can we have a better sense of collaboration. We are in the development phase of our next 4-year plan that will be due to the Fed sometime this spring. You may have heard that we are working on a combined plan. So we are going to fold in some other federal programs that weren't a part of the plan before. Many of you probably received notice yesterday that we are embarking upon a listening tour. We thought that was important to do that on the front end of the plan development. We met last week for the first time with our strategic planning committee to really get a sense for some of the programs and the overlap that exists in the services that they can provide. But we want to hear from the locals. I mean, sometimes the state, we have a sense of how things are operating, but we're really not aware of how things are actually happening at the local level. And I think it's important for us, before we get too far into this planning process, to hear from you all and from others at the local level about barriers that might exist, things that we might not be aware of, and how we can improve upon them in that plan, and what levers we may need to pull to help better integration of programs at the local level. So that's what's going to be key for us, I think, is moving forward. It was apparent last week in that room with the program directors and some local folks of just, we're paying for education and training and multiple programs. So how do we, set some clear lanes and have that better integration of service? As Fred mentioned, we really are right now dealing with some folks that are hardest to serve, and unless we can come together across some of these programs for that better integration, then we're not going to be able to serve them to the best of our ability. And if you hear the governor speak, he really is, putting the people first and foremost every time that he's out there. And so how do we work together at the local level, the state level, to really help Hoosiers, move up to the next level? And we're going to be able to do that through better integration of services. And so, as we go through this planning process, any feedback you all have, we in the release yesterday, and hopefully the directors and chairs that received that, we'll send that out to those of you in the room that might not have. It went to about 5,000 people, so some of you might not have gotten that. But we have set up an email address that you can send comments in as you hear about what we're trying to do through that process. And so just make sure you contact us and reach out. We really want this to be as collaborative as possible, because that's really how we're going to really best serve Hoosiers here. And I know, I was given a lot of amount of time, and I don't like to speak. I prefer to answer questions. So if anything that I've said so far has raised any questions, I'm happy to take a few questions in the remaining few minutes that I have from the audience. No?
DJ, how about the listening tour? Any more detail on that?
Yeah, so the listening tour, we had dates. We were starting off down in Region 10. on October 14th. They're all from 5 to 7. We're trying to get them in between now and mid-November, just because those of you that are aware of state plan submission dates and some of those things, we're going to have a draft of the plan out in January for public comment. So we thought it was important for us to get out on the front end of that by mid-November, as we are incorporating whatever we hear from locals into that plan. And then obviously once we get a draft of the plan done, we'll be back out to get more feedback from you all. So really kind of a two-part process on receiving feedback. One on the front end, so we can kind of hear how things are operating locally, what barriers might exist, what levers we might need to pull within that plan, and then getting back out there after the plan, the draft of the plan is made, so that we can hear from you all and see what we put in the plan is really going to address your local needs. Some of the components that we're thinking about putting in the plan, obviously we have our WIOA programs, adult dislocated worker, youth and Wagner Visor, both rehab and adult ed that are required parts of the plan. You all may be aware that this year the Perkins authorities of federal CTE rules and regulations folded underneath the workforce cabinet, and so we are incorporating Perkins into that plan as well. SNAP employment training, we added Dr. Sullivan, formerly Dr. Walthall over FSSA, onto the workforce cabinet in August. So we can really start to think about the integration of how we're serving our folks that are on SNAP and TANF through the local workforce boards rather than through a system that's operating outside of that. We added Commissioner Rob Carter, so we've had a great partnership between DWD and DOC over the last year as we've moved around. And I think, hopefully some of the concerns about, the workforce cabinet tweaks that we were making were alleviated when we really heard from the directors, and I tried to go to as many of the quarterly and WIOA meetings as possible, but on, something like the Work Indiana transition. I know that there was a little bit of tension on that, but we tried to be collaborative and work with you all as we did a transition from what was with Work Indiana to the Workforce Ready Grant Program, and build in some funding and a mechanism to allow for programs that weren't on the Workforce Ready Grant list but were on the Work Indiana list. And so again, that collaboration and partnership between you all and us is really of vital importance to us. So with that, any other questions? I'm excited for the day. Hopefully you all are. I know that we're going to hear from a great panel of local folks on best practices next. And I'm really excited because I get to hear some of those things when I go to the WIOA meetings or when I go to and travel out to local boards and just see what's happening. And I think it's really exciting. And I think this, the state and the governor really want to integrate better the federal system and the state system. And so how do we work better together is kind of our mantra to really, move Hoosiers up to the next level. So thank you all, and have a great day.